Well, welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Kurt Bisnick. I'm from North Dakota. I'm actually up in Montana. I pulled along the side of the interstate coming back from Portland, Oregon. I went out and helped do a booth there at a women's expo. And what a great time. I get to hang around with people, like-minded people like all of us that are trying to figure out how do we stay young for the rest of our lives. And it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, no matter where you go, people want to be young. They don't want to get old. They don't want to have the diseases of old age. And so what an easy subject to talk about. Welcome to the call. My name is Dr. Kurt Fisnick, and we do this call each and every Tuesday, noon Eastern time, the doctor's call, and we're bringing a number of different doctors on. Right now, I've got my friend Andrea from up Michigan and Dr. Kim Schunkweiler from up by Detroit, Michigan as well. And we're kind of finishing up a talk, or maybe we won't even finish it this time either. It seems like every time we get started, we can't really get finished with it. But we started out 3 weeks ago talking about enhancing the effectiveness of the age pill, enhancing the effectiveness of NAD with the use of nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide, and different things like that, and resveratrol. And last week, Dr. Kim and I ended up the talk last Tuesday. We ended up just kind of touching on the subject of telomeres. And I know a number of people had posted on Facebook, when are we going to talk about telomeres on the call? And so what perfect timing. They kind of led us right into our conversation. But before we get started, I'm just going to say happy birthday to my friend Dr. Kim. Welcome to the call. 67 years young today. And what a pleasure it is to have you on the call, Dr. Kim.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Kurt.
Hey, what a great day,
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful here in Michigan this morning, a little brisk, but I went out for a couple mile walk this morning and really enjoyed it. So we've got it off to a great start. We have our first seminar for stem cell this evening. Our first public seminar, so we're kind of excited about that. Of course,
That's really
up
cool.
to my eyebrows trying to get my presentation ready. Nobody like me can wait till the last minute, like I always do. But that's the way it goes.
That's right. But your head is so full of knowledge. The cool part about it is that when I've seen you speak, the thing is that you can have your subject matter there, and you're going to be talking this and this and this, and all of a sudden, you get sidelined, and you end up talking about something else that was just on the fringe of your mind, right?
Oh my gosh, it's terrible. I do go off at a few tangents, but it all comes together at the end.
That's right. I saw a question on Facebook last night. Somebody they said what's the difference between, say, the age pill, which is an NAD enhancer, nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide, tryptophan, and actually, let's ask you. You're opening up you've opened up a stem cell clinic. What's the difference between using the age pill and actually giving somebody a stem cell injection?
Well, the age pill, starts removing that accumulated cellular junk that's accumulates over the years, which we of course call glycation and lipofuscin, and that accumulated cellular sludge retards the growth of new stem cells. So over a period of time, because of use, poor diet choices, things like that, joints start to break down, tissue starts to break down, and the stem cells, because they're so sludged up, unable to replicate like they should, you start getting that degenerative process going on. So the age pill, as it removes that accumulation, can start stimulating new stem cells to grow. Now, our stem cell, or our what we call regenerative tissue therapy, will actually enhance or give the body more to work with. So we are pretty excited about the combination of using the age pill both pre and post, transplant procedure, because we feel that's going to really make a difference in the success of a person's transplant.
You bet. Well, the other thing, Dr. Kim, you and I had talked about with stem cells, back 10 years ago, they used to think that, hey, you take some stem cells and, wherever you got them, embryonic or umbilical cord, mesenchymal, no matter where they got them, they thought of it almost like putting a seed in there, like planting seeds for a flower, and that would be the stem cells. But now they're actually saying that the stem cells that you do the injection with, they're actually more or less just a messenger cell, right?
Absolutely. Well, there are stem cells, but there's so much more that goes with it. We're calling that the matrix. If you got a seed, you also need the ground to put it in. If you plant a soil in fertile soil, you're planting a seed in fertile soil, you're going to get a faster growth and much better growth. There you have to water it. You have to give it the food, the nutrition, and all this goes together to get much better results. You just don't take a seed and throw it on top of the dirt and hope for it to, take root and flourish. So, we're looking at that whole matrix, Dr. Kurt, for rebuilding joints, and that it can happen. You can actually rebuild a degenerative joint with the combination that we're doing.
You bet. Well, and so the age pill, the difference, kind of answer the question, then we'll move on in that. The age pill then being, it cleans up the mess that we've created with sugar and fat metabolism by cleaning it up. And so now it allows the body's stem cells, the reactive tissue, to come back to life, so that when we do the stem cell injection, when you used to do the stem cell injection, it's actually going to take hold that much better, and it's going to make it work that much more in the body. But as you were talking, I was kind of thinking, hey, what else do we have? The Spectrum Max, it's 74 trace minerals, essential trace minerals. When you hear that, essential means that your body needs it, you can't make it, and trace means that you don't need very much. And so you've got these essential trace minerals. You're putting them back in the body, replenishing them. And like Dr. Kim was saying, if you don't have the proper ground to put the seed in, it's not going to work. And so the Spectrum Act helps kind of create, let's say more or less, if we're going to continue on the line of the talk that we're saying, more like a fertilizer. So it's going to make the ground that much more. But, Dr. Kim, one of the things that I saw on Facebook last night, and I know we kind of left off last Tuesday, we were talking a little bit about telomeres, and so if you'd like, would you want to talk a little bit about what you know about telomeres?
Well, I quite honestly, that is not my area of expertise. I understand as we did little telomeres at the end of the chromosomes, they have determined that they can almost determine the length of life by the length of telomeres, and the shorter your telomeres go, the shorter the amount of time you have on the face of the earth, basically. So
yeah,
the question is, if we have these shortened telomeres, what can we do about that? And there are some products out there that claim to lengthen telomeres. And of course, one is called TA65. It's a patented product that is very, very expensive to take, and it's the only patented product I think that does that. But we're pretty fortunate being. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, just talk a little bit more about telomeres before we talk about products. The thing about it is that I try and tell people, I'm trying to give them a visual of what telomeres are. Actually, you know, when I first started hearing about telomeres, that was about the time that you and I met, you know, through Greta Blackburn. She's actually kind of the telomere diva. She claims to be the female that's been on telomeres longer than anybody else on the planet to be on a telomere-enhancing product. But so when you look at telomeres, when your mom and dad got together and conceived you 67 years ago, or actually 67 years and 9 months ago, what happened was it lit a fuse, and that fuse, that's the telomere. And what it is, it's a bundle of nucleotides that determine how long you're going to be on the planet. But it does a lot more than that. But just to kind of simplify it, it determines that, and you're given just a finite number of these telomeres. So what happens is that from the day that you're conceived, they start to burn rather rapidly. In the 9 months while you're in the womb, the telomeres are burning really fast, and you burn up almost 1/3 of your telomeres before you ever pop your head out. So Dr. Kim, by the time this day happened 67 years ago, you had already burnt up 1/3 of your telomeres, and then when you pop into the world, then the telomeres are burning rather slowly. They burn pretty slow when you're a newborn, when you're an infant, when you're a toddler. They're burning pretty slow. Let's just kind of say they're burning at maybe 1 day equals 1 day. Let's just kind of use that scenario to kind of give you, again, a visualization. But then as you get to be 20, 30 years old, the telomeres start to burn a little bit faster. So all of a sudden you start to burn, in comparison, you burn a day and a quarter's worth of telomeres in comparison to what you burnt when, say, you were 5 years old. When you get to be 40 years old, now you're burning about a day and a half's worth of telomeres in comparison to when you're just a toddler. When you get to be about 50, 60, it's about up to 1 3/4 days worth of telomeres in comparison to what you burnt when you were a toddler. And Dr. Kim, by the time you reach 70 in the next 3 years, what happens is you're actually burning 2 days worth of telomeres for every single day that you're on the planet in comparison to when you were just a toddler. And when you get up into your 80s, your 90s, what happens is you're burning like 3 times as much. And so they were looking for a way of thinking that, well, what can we do to slow this down? What can we do to slow down the burning of these telomeres? And that's actually what leads us to what you were talking about with the patent on TSX, because they had found something called cycloestragonol, and they put a patent on it, but the patent was so limited. Anyhow, they're using a small amount of this. Cycloestragonol is $84,000 per kilo. It's not a cheap ingredient. $84,000 per kilo, and so Tom was looking at a way of making a product that was a lot less expensive, using the cycloestragonol, and he also has a patent on it, and so cycloestragonol, like I said, $84,000 per kilo. We're actually using 3 times as much cycloestragonol as TS65. Then on top of it, we're adding some other astragalosides. We're adding some bacopicides, and bacopicides are about $42,000. Or no, that's the other astragaloside. That's $42,000 per kilo that we're using. And then the bacopicides are somewhere between $500 to $1,000 per kilo. But that's what makes that product so expensive. And what they found, Dr. Kim, was that if you kind of think of it like, like I said, like the fuse burning, all of a sudden now what these cycloestragenols do is that as it burns it puts another piece back on. So a piece of the fuse gets burned off, they put another piece of the fuse back on, and it just keeps repeating that process. And if you can repeat the process fast enough, you can actually reverse the aging process, and that's what TSX does, and so the science behind it is really pretty cool, and so when you're looking at that, combine that with stem cells, combine that with with NAD, NR, and the NMN, with the nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide, all of a sudden you've got a combination that's just really kind of out of this world. And like Suzanne was saying in the beginning of the call, here she just, turned into her 70s, and she's feeling much like she's closer to her 50s, and you can actually measure that, Dr. Kim. You can measure your telomere length, and last week I found a study that that they're starting to be able to nail down now. They can nail down specific telomere locations, and one of the first ones that they located was the telomere for prostate cancer. And and a lot of people don't realize that prostate cancer kills just as many men as breast cancer kills women, and so it's really important to figure out how to do this. But they found a specific telomere location for prostate, and so now using products like TSX, we can actually take and we can measure this, and we can tell people, hey, look, we're seeing this lengthen. And that's pretty cool, huh?
That is, it's very exciting. We are living in some pretty exciting times when it comes to understanding all this stuff. The whole field of healthcare is changing. Instead of just covering up symptoms, we're really getting to the point where we can fix people without having to put them on drugs and cutting things off. And man, this is cool, isn't it?
It really is. And the other thing is, Dr. Kim, is that, sometimes we have to admit that, even though you and I being alternative practitioners, we have to admit that, there's certain drugs at certain times, certain surgeries at certain times. It's the best way of going. And wouldn't it be nice, instead of using a shotgun approach, that we could say, here, Dr. Kim, here's exactly the drug that you need. Here's exactly the surgery you need for your specific condition, rather than using the old shotgun approach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's exciting times in which we live. The knowledge is increasing, by the day at an accelerated pace. And, you really appreciate people like Tom Maurer, who can assimilate the information out there, put it into his brain, and with all his vast, experience and years of knowledge and into this stuff, come out with products that really, really work.
That's exactly it. I look at all the research on the nicotinamide riboside and the nicotinamide mononucleotide, and over the course of the last 10 years, you're just seeing an increasing amount of research that's being posted on the web, online research that's being done. And I was talking to my sister-in-law. She works for a company. They do some research with blood plasma, and she was saying, 10 years ago they had found that using certain stem cells, they could actually reverse Alzheimer's, but it was just too expensive to make. And so now with the enhancement that we can do with products like the H pill, now we can't say reverse, and we can't say cure, and we can't say treat. But the whole thing is that if we can remove the garbage, if we can clean up the mess that we've created, it's only going to give a person a better situation. And all of a sudden then, maybe the body's own healing ability can go back and fix some things. Because that's really what we want, is we want the body to actually do the repair work, don't we, Dr. Kim?
Absolutely. That's always the best way.
Yeah. As chiropractors, that's what we always learned, is enhance the innate intelligence of the body and all of that. A couple weeks ago, I was reading up on some studies on what they called the second immune system. Have you ever read anything up on that?
Are you talking about the Gulf?
About what now?
The digestive, the tissue surrounding the digestive tract.
Exactly.
Gastrointestinal associated lymphoid tissue. I never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Yeah. But it's kind of cool, how does that fit, and I know you and I never rehearsed anything that we're talking about today, so that's why I throw sideballs at you like that. But
thank you.
When we think about it, I got to keep that 67-year-old brain thinking like a 30-year-old brain, right? And so when you start thinking about it, if you can take and you can remove the garbage, and you can get the stem cells, the body's natural stem cells, to kind of come out of senescence, to come out of hibernation, go back to work, start cleaning up the mess. We can inject stem cells that stimulate the body to rebuild. And all of a sudden now, that second immune system, wow. I mean, isn't that just going to be just amazing what we're going to see happening with that?
Oh, from many points of view. I mean, not only just immune system, but psychoses. Dr. Perlmutter wrote a book called Brain Maker, where the whole book talks about how that the gut is the source of all the problems. And there's so much that goes on in the gut and in the microbiome, that whole plethora of beneficial bacteria that basically is part of us. We have more foreign cells in our body than we have human cells. Our DNA has its own. Our DNA. What am I talking about?
I don't know.
Mitochondria. Excuse me. I've got this presentation on my brain for tonight, and I'm thinking two things at once. But the mitochondria have their own DNA, which basically means they're non-human. So they're bacteria that we've developed a symbiotic relationship with, that without we don't exist, we don't live. They're part of us. So we have come a long way, and it's, like I said, it's exciting. But we're at the point where we can take this basic science and knowledge and actually do something with it to enhance our lives. And this is where it's really getting cool.
It really is. It's exciting. I'm just so happy to be part of it, to watch all these things happen. Because, years ago when I was talking about age reversal and anti-aging, I remember in Fargo, North Dakota, where my practice was, people were looking at me like, what kind of nutball are you? When I started in 1999, I started doing DNA testing in my office, and I started telling people, hey, we can use this to determine exactly, we can pinpoint what kind of treatment you need if you get high blood pressure. We can use this to tell you what kinds of problems you have that's causing, this or that to go wrong in your body. And I remember at the time, the doctors in Fargo, the medical doctors, they all kind of laughed at me, and they said, what kind of future doctor are you? You can't do that kind of stuff. And now we're seeing, Mayo Clinic is doing DNA testing, MD Anderson, Sanford Health. I mean, they're all using this same kind of treatment that are testing that almost 20 years ago, I would say, hey, this is going to be the way we're going to want to do it, because we don't have to use that shotgun approach. And now, we're 20 years ahead of that, and we're all of a sudden now we're talking about enhancing the body's own healing ability with some of the most potent products on the planet, with the Age Pill and Eternity, TSX, the Fucoiden. I mean, holy cow, Dr. Kim, you read that article a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, on the fucose molecule and how that relates to stem cells. Just in the next minute or two, you want to say something about that?
Well, I wish I could say a lot about it. I've been doing a lot of research. I found that stem cells do need this process of fucosylation, where they need a fucose molecule to go through the whole process, end up with a differentiated cell. And of course, where can we find that fucose molecule? Coiden, right? So
coiden, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So in many ways, Tom's been ahead of the game, and he really kind of hasn't really let us know how far ahead of the game he is. Kind of feeds it to us drips and drabs along the line, but we find out that, man, this guy really knows what he's doing.
It really is. And so it's here we are at the bottom of the hour, and it sounds like a good time to kind of cut the call off, and maybe next week we'll talk a little bit. We'll just kind of continue this talk on enhancing the age pill, enhancing your stem cells and your healing abilities, things like that. What do you think if we just keep on the same subject? Andrea, Dr. Kim, what do you think of that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I just thought we should maybe do a little clarification about some of the stuff we've been talking about for those people who maybe just hopped on the call because somebody posted it on their social media. Of course, Dr. Kim and Dr. Kurt are the host of the call, but some of the things that you've been bringing up, the different products such as TSX, Age Pill, Fucoidan, I thought there might need to be an explanation that these are all products that are produced by a company called Sisel. And wherever you saw this recorded call posted, you would get back to the person who posted it and consult with them for more information. The company produces very effective, unique products for health and anti-aging, and a biochemist owns the company and, creates these formulations that are very effective. So I just thought we should maybe throw that in there so there's a little bit of clarification on what we're talking about.
Dr. Kurt, Andrea is showing us the real value in having a woman around, isn't she? Because we just get carried away, don't we? And we need adult guidance, I think, at times.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, my mom called me last night. Here I am, 55 years old. My mom, she's 79 this year, and she called me up last night. I'm driving home from the West Coast, and she said, well, be careful. It looks like there's some snow up in the mountain passes. I'm thinking, Mom, I'm 55. I'm driving in snow all my life. And but they are.
Dr. Kurt,
they always got,
once a mom, always a mom.
That's right. So, well, everyone, thanks for being on the call. Thanks for listening to the recording. Thanks for sharing it with everyone. And let's get the word out that, there are some ways that you can enhance your life. You can make yourself look and feel younger. Maybe, kind of prevent some of those things that might happen in the future. And, I always tell people that the best testimonials are the ones we're never going to hear. Right? The guy that didn't get cancer, the woman that didn't get depression, and the person that didn't get heart disease. I mean, those are really, in my opinion, those are the best testimonials, and you're never going to hear them because the person never had to beat them in the end. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Kim, for your time. Have a happy birthday. Andrea, thanks for getting on and always kind of keeping Dr. Kim and I in line. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Kim.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Bye now.